and welcome to this special interview. I am Sergio Brito. The budget estimate for the coming year 2023 has been tabled before the National Assembly. It has caused a huge debate amongst Gambians as they, discussion about the amount that has been tabled before our lawmakers this year for the incoming year 2023. Today I am joined by Economist Alhaji Mamadi Kurang to take us through the budget process and the implications it has if it gets approved. Welcome to the Fatu Network, Mr. Kurang.
Thank you very much, Sayo. I'm looking forward to our discussion. Very interesting one.
It should be. It should be. Now, when this administration took over the Jammeh administration in 2017, it had an approved budget of 12 billion Gambian dollars. Fast forward to 2022, the same administration is asking for National Assembly to approve 35 billion Gambian dollars. That's like a 191% increase. Why the staggering increase? I mean, take us through the economics of these numbers, because I think not even Gambians know what is at stake right now.
Well, I think you can see the background of the fiscal management of the Barrow government. It's not very infrequent for you to see that the former Minister of Finance, Mamburenjai, and the President himself, Barrow, in rallies telling people that, okay, we constructed so much roads, we did that more than what Jawara did and more than what Jawara and Yaya Jammeh combined. And they always add a very significant statement there, which they used to say, in fact, we finance it from our own funds. But this is a political statement in as much as they try to make it also as an economic statement, because what we know, the pattern of expenditure from 2017 up to now is unprecedented in the history of this country. One clear example is that between 1965 and 1994 up to 2016, the two governments, the PPP administration and the APRC administration, together had a combined loan to portfolio of about $1 billion. $1 billion, which is about, let's say, 50 to, so depending on the rate of the dollar, 50 to 60 billion dollars. Now, interestingly enough, between 2017 January, right, up to now, and looking forward to the 10-year of the mandate that's already given to Barrow, right, it is estimated very reasonably that this government, the NPP government, will have a combined debt total of close to the same amount, another $1 billion. So this is very significant. What we have seen is that the governments, the two governments for 55 years, from 1965 up to date, right, up to 2017, right, have almost borrowed as much as what this government for 10 years.
That's huge.
When we try to say this, people don't really absorb the magnitude, but it is of so much significance. What it tells you that when you borrow so much, you tend to borrow both from domestic as well as from foreign borrowing. That's what they do, because when you make a budget like this, you have what you call a budget deficit, meaning that you are spending more than you are earning, because they're earning from taxes and non-tax revenue is far less than the earnings or the expenditure that they're trying to make. So the gap that is created, we call it a budget deficit. So you could say, yes, we've been always running a budget deficit for most part of since independence. But it is now become a trend since 2017 now up to now that the budget deficit does not bother them. Balancing a budget is no more a priority. So what do? When you have created so much deficit, you go to the market to borrow. You borrow locally from treasury bills, you borrow from banks and so on, and then you go outside looking for foreign financing. So what does that mean? You have to finance the debt. You have to finance the borrowing. So you will see that a significant percentage of the budget goes to commitment to pay for some of the debts that they have already taken. About $5 to $6 billion every year is going. So you could say, if they come and say, oh, we want to spend 30 billion, then you know that, well, almost 20% or 25%, close to getting to 30% of this is going actually to finance the debts. So the more they are spending, the more the budget has to be bigger, the more they want to impress people with projects here and there, they tend to be bigger. But big government is not just because of the loans that they have to take and the loans that they are financing. Yeah. I'm sure you'll come to that later, but the recurrent expenditure of the Barrow government is extremely high. Discretionary expenditure, the diplomatic corps we see is getting bigger. Yeah. In the budget you could see it's about $1 billion, right? They are opening more and more foreign embassies. Some people say they are using it maybe to compensate to give political compensation. Quid pro quo, right? They are using it to compensate political friends and so on. Then you see within the administrative budget that they have in terms of per diems and so on is also increasing. The salary component, I'm sure you'll come to that later, is also increasing. So they are borrowing to finance capital projects, right? And those capital projects maybe are not giving us the dividend that we deserve to be able to pay back. And at the same time, it seems that some of the borrowing and the grants is going to finance revenue expenditure, which is day-to-day expenses, salaries, running expenses, fuel, petrol, traveling, embassies, etc. So this is the problem we are in now. So much so that one of the key patterns of this budget that I see that it is very important to bring to the notice of people is that the major areas like health, agriculture, if you look at them, how much capital investment is the government doing? No, the government just allocated budget to pay salaries of nurses and to pay some salaries of agricultural staff. There is no capital investment in agriculture, which is badly needed at this moment, because with the COVID that we're facing, with the economic crisis we're facing, food crisis, countries all over the world are saying that we have to go back to the land. And to go back to the land is to invest on the land. The government is not investing on agricultural equipment and agricultural projects. They are waiting for the donors to do this. And that is another characteristic of this budget. The donors for last year, for this budget that we are in right now, 2022, they are short by donor funding of about $2 billion. So $2 billion promised by the donors did not actualize. The minister himself admitted to that. So now they are projecting more expenditure based on donors that did not actualize in the past budget. So what are they telling us? That if this donor funding still did not actualize, we will still go and maybe take loans and borrow from elsewhere.
Looking at this budget estimate and going through the numbers, in your expert opinion, do you think economic principles are being followed?
Well, you say you cannot say economic principles are being followed, because what do? You first of all have to look at what is the existing economic problem we have. Right now, we have a problem that economists call stagflation. There is high inflation, rapid rates of increase in prices, and there is no growth. Jobs are not being created. It's simple. You're just coming from America. When they say growth, they mean show us the growth. How do you show us the growth? Show us the jobs. If you are not showing us the jobs, it means growth is not happening. Who is picking new jobs? A lot of the hotels are closed. The government is not taking people. The private sector seems to be constant. So growth is almost zero if it is not negative. It's been negative for the past 2 years. So if you have high inflation and you have low growth, you have a stagflation, a stagnant economy. So this is your economic problem and situation. And you have high debt, high gearing. So what should be your economic principle? How can you tell me that you are following economic principle? You are now supposed to deal with your fiscal and monetary policy. What is the fiscal policy? Fiscal policy, we said, is done at the Ministry of Finance, where they manage the budget, likely through the budget, that you make a budget which you try to spend wisely. You try to spend on what will bring you benefit. You try to reduce your discretionary expenses. You try to reduce those expenses that will not bring any benefit to now and in the future. You try to make investments that will breed you something in the health, education, technology, industry, agriculture, if you are an agricultural dominant economy. This is your fiscal policy. You manage government expenditure to give growth to the economy through the different sectors. your monetary policy now, we have a monetary policy problem situation. It's managed at the central bank. And what is the policy that is supposed to function at the central bank? At the central bank, your focus is on controlling inflation and then taking care of the local currency to make sure that it does not depreciate unnecessarily and it does not maybe appreciate that it throws off investors. So what are we having now? The dollar we have seen is depreciating significantly over the past few months. And what is the solution that we are expecting? What is the monetary policy we are expecting? We are expecting that money supply or government expenditure will be controlled so that the fuel that fires the inflation will be dampened. That is not happening. We are expecting that there will be policies to manage the foreign currency so that the dollar will gain ground. We have seen, we have even had reports that they came with some wrong policies.
Yeah, because about that, there's something I want to ask about. A couple of weeks ago, I think there were reports that the president had given hard currency to investors. I mean, what is that about?
Yeah, that's what everybody is asking, because, you know, they are managing monetary policy like a firefighting approach. We are not seeing what is the long-term strategy of the government. First, they came out and said, we are going to ban all the foreign currency withdrawals from the commercial banks. That
was from the central
bank. This was only contracted from the central bank monetary policy. They're trying to control the dollar from falling rapidly. But it was not a good move because investors reacted by holding money, foreign currency, and they have to come back and retract the policy because it was a wrong policy. Now they have reserves, which the reserves, they use it to balance the economy and then manage to stabilize the dollar. That's the purpose of the reserves. So, well, yeah, we know that there is foreign currency shortage, but what we understand is that there is supposed to be a judicious use of the reserves to control the dollar. Now, if you say that you are trying to help the dollar or trying to regulate the foreign currency market by taking dollars in your central bank and giving it to a particular businessman to import oil, we don't understand what is the logic behind this. Okay, they said foreign currency is scarce, the black market or the market is saying 60 something, 63, but then the central bank wants to sell it at 56, so we try to help the businessman to get it at 57. But Ghana is experiencing it at this moment. Nigeria is experiencing it at this moment. A former governor of Nigerian Central Bank, Sanusi, made a very eloquent statement. He said, anytime you try to control the foreign exchange market where there is no transparency, where you try to sell dollars or dollars at a rate to some Mr. X at a different rate from the rate that is in the market, we have what we call arbitrage. What is that simply? It simply means that somebody somewhere will have a motivation to bypass the markets, to make a gain at the expense of the whole country. Because if you give it to me at 56, and in the black market or in the real market, that's the real market, because in Gambia, the black market is the real market. It's not an illegal market. They are selling currency every corner in the country. They have licenses. So that's the real market. If they tell you 65, then it is 65 or thereabout. So if the central bank say, no, it's not 65, it should be 56 or 55, then $10 is different. They sell it to you, Sajo, at 55. You have a motivation. Somebody else have a motivation to take that 55, go and sell it in the black market for 62 and make a $9 profit, or make it for 65, make a $10 profit on every dollar and put it in his pocket. This is called arbitrage. When you don't have a transparent foreign exchange market, when you try to bypass the market, you try to bid it by this kind of policies, this is what happened. People undercut. And then I've seen some reports, I don't know how true it, for one of the medias, the Alcamba Times or so, saying that, well, there were some dealings in the central bank. Well, you know, I am not here to say it's true or not true, but I am saying that if you do this kind of policy, if you try to take foreign currency and give it to some people without transparency, you opening the door for arbitrage. And arbitrage is to beat the system at the expense of the whole economy.
Now, something that has caused a huge debate over the weekend, all part of the discussion of the budget estimate, is the Speaker's proposed salary. I think this is one thing that has gotten a lot of Gambians outraged, actually. So, the Speaker's basic salary was about $658,000, and now the 2023 estimate aims to increase it to like $1.5 million. That's an increase of about 136.9%.
Yeah.
Which means roughly 900,000 will be added. I mean, from an economic point of view, but most importantly, from a moral point of view. Do you think we need such a staggering increase, especially at this point in time?
No, I don't think we need that increase, because what I have seen from the figures, some people say they are beating up the 30%, but this beats the logic of the 30%. We have seen that, well, the total basic salary of the MPs increased from 27 million to 36 million. That's about a 9 million. That's about a 30% increase for overall. But how is it possible that out of the blue, that all the other MPs get 30%, the Speaker of the House, right, is getting 136%? That beats my understanding of what is happening. What logic are they applying? So, well, you know, it seems to me, right, that they are trying to make a statement about the Speaker, because they have this logic. The President is getting 200,000 plus. Right, the Vice President, God knows, I don't know how much he's getting. That if the Speaker is the number 3, then they want to give him the number 3 salary. But let them come transparent and tell people what is the logic in which they. But that is not the only argument. People are asking, well, the National Assembly clothing allowance, this 100,000, this allowance, this much. Now it's very repulsive for Gambians, because you see, the problem is not about paying money. The problem is we don't see the value that they are giving, and whether that value commensurate with what the National Assembly is bringing to us. For we've put them there since 2017 up to 2021, and then now we give them a new mandate. But we still have issues which they are not even prepared to discuss. They are not talking about major problems in the budget. They are not talking about that to us. The billions are going, the OIC billions. They have the projects from here and there, Banjul, Koina, Katong, Hakalan, etc. Billions are being spread around, as we said, 60 billion that Barrow is trying to borrow. And we don't know where these billions are going, and National Assembly is not talking about them. They are not asking relevant questions. That's one. Two, our Constitution. They are lawmakers. What law have they made? What law are they prepared to make? If they complete this 5-year mandate and they go and they still don't give us a new constitution, they don't give us a term limit, they don't give us 50 plus 1, they don't even deserve to be paid $10,000. Because, for what? What are you paying them for? People elected them to deliver the law. We are, in this country, is still operating under the laws that they are. I think some people say, well, you know, there was a $10,000 he supposed wahala in the last parliament of some people receiving 10,000. Yeah. So this is maybe, and is this another way, people are saying, of legitimizing that 10,000? You know, last time it was not only the 10,000, there was also 53 vehicles, you know, that were accepted by largely some of them, which are questionable. And now, you know, since there will be no 53 vehicles like that, or there will be no 10,000 brown envelope, is this another way of trying to satisfy?
They're seeking for vehicles that are way more expensive than the pickup trucks that they have.
Yeah, there you go. They are in the budget. They are asking for vehicles for the National Assembly members. It's all, I think, it's all very, very offensive. It's all very, very offensive in general, because the National Assembly is supposed to be a productive means. But I say also that when we are arguing about salaries, we always have to put it in context. Yeah. You see, when I come here, I said that the Speaker is being paid this. Are they trying to say that because he's number 3, he should be paid that? Well, let him do a number 3 job. But beside that, what people are saying is that what is the salary policy of a government? You see, if you want to have a sound economic policy, you need to come out and lay to the people of the country how you want to compensate everybody within the country. This is very discussable, because there is no secret about this. The president, everybody knows how much is his salary. Yeah. So nobody's salary is a secret anymore. It can be secret in my house, but in the parliament, everybody should know how much a minister is supposed to be paid, how much, where do you place the MPs now? Yeah. If you say the speaker is an MP equivalent to a minister, or is a deputy minister, or a palm sec, Now, where do you place the managing directors compared to the MPs? The government, all these are taxpayers' money. Because why I say managing directors? People are saying that, an MP once told me, the parastatals, the NAWEC,
Yeah.
the GPA, Gambia Ports Authority, the Social Security, the GAMTEL, all these parastatals, the civil aviation that you have, people don't know that these people are making us poor than anybody. They are losing money big time, and the taxpayer is guaranteeing them. We need to talk about the budget. The minister does not present on them. They have their own budgets because they are not considered to be part of the central government, but they are part of the taxpayers' economic concern. You see, NAWEC have been guaranteed by the central bank, revealed by the Janet Commission, to a tune of about $30 million. This is about $1.5 billion. This is a lot of money because they had debts they couldn't pay. We are guaranteeing that money.
Could Gamtel be facing the same thing right now?
All of the parastatals are having problems. Now, if they run out of money, they run to the banks. The banks tell them, you see, we have to learn. If it is happening in another country, don't say it's not happening in my country. We saw reports that, oh, China has taken over the Zambian port. But you see, I'm not saying that China is taking over our assets. But you see, this is what happens. If a parastatal like GPA or NAWEC runs out of money, they go to the bank to look for money. Now, when they take money from the bank, it could be an external bank or an internal bank, or it could be a foreign country like China also. When they go there, they look for money. Those people will say, no, you are just a company. We will not give you money until you have a guarantee from your government. So then they involve the finance ministry. But these are called off-balance sheet events. It means that they don't show in the main budget, but they have implications for the taxpayer. So then they will run to the finance ministry and say, we want to take a loan from Standard Bank, but Standard Bank is saying that they will not give us this loan until it is guaranteed by the Ministry of Finance, or is guaranteed by the central bank or whatever. Some government sovereign fund must guarantee it. So then the Ministry of Finance will say, okay, man, we will guarantee. Give them the money. They will give NAWEC the money, or Gamtel, or Ports the money to maybe do some extension or do something. But what happens next? If there is inefficiency in NAWEC, they buy generators that they cannot pay, or generators that cannot generate enough income for themselves. That loan they take from the bank is going to come back to the taxpayer. So we're going to guarantee, one way or the other, that is how the central bank gets involved, to pay, to make sure that NAWEC pays back. And if they don't pay it back, central bank guarantees it with our reserves. So you see, these are all matters of budgets, that when the finance minister comes to dinner at the House of Parliament, they have to put these things to him. They cannot pretend that they don't know what's happening. The National Assembly has what they call a PAC or whatever they call it.
Yes.
They have a committee that looks after these parastatals. You understand? That looks after the finances. Yeah, they call it a public house committee. They call the parastatals. They call the area council. So they know there are issues in all these places. When the finance minister comes, this is where all the issues are supposed to dovetail and crystallize. But they have to ask him those questions. Why? What is the government doing? Because all this is part of fiscal policy. All this will come to affect your dollarsy. All this will come to affect your currency. And all this will come to affect inflation. And all this will find themselves on our dinner table.
The finance minister knows exactly what he's doing, because he knows what you know, because you all are financial experts.
He gives them small information,
little
bits and pieces.
National Assembly members to ask the right questions. But let's talk about health, because it seems that there's another 40 million that is set aside for a commission to look into the AKI debts.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there have not been any sort of investment made for laboratory, equipments to test medicines or food safety. Yeah. I mean, what do you make of this at a time like this? Why do we need another commission?
That's another scandal. That's another scandal in the budget, because in the previous budgets, so every finance discussion is either about a past budget, present budget, and future budget, and you cannot actually disassociate them. They are all, because what happened in the past is still happening. So in the past, we had the Janet Commission, about 200 million. We had the TRRC, about $500 million. Then we have the CRC, about 100 million or close to 200 million. So you have about $1 billion we spent in the past 5 years on three or four commissions.
Only for nothing to come out of them, by the
Just
way.
for them to prepare volumes and volumes and volumes and volumes and deposit them at the Justice Ministry. $1 billion. So now with that experience, what we are expecting is, where is the dividend of all those commissions? They are supposed to give us something in return. The TRRC, for example, is supposed to bring a security sector and civil service reform so that they can reduce costs and then make it more efficient and more responsive to the needs of the country. The Janneh Commission is supposed to maybe produce reports that will show institutional reforms. The parastatals were so audited in the Janneh Commission. Where is the reform in the parastatal? They are still in the same inefficiency. The civil service, how money is managed and so on. All this were scrutinized. The CRC, the constitutional reform, is supposed to prepare the legal framework for corruption and all those things to be dealt with in the country. So now they are talking about another budget for another commission, when we know what is the key problem. Drugs have come in here, that the drug control agency, medicine control people at the ports or at the customs cannot actually detect anything because they don't have the equipment.
They don't have the capacity.
So we see that this country needs the capacity and the equipment to be able. So that's why I'm saying that one key feature of this budget is that it completely ignores capital investment. And how can you have, even at home, Sajo, please, you can have your store full of rice, onion, potatoes, everything, but you need the tools to be able to cook them. You have to invest on a cooking pot. You have to invest on a gas stove. These are the capital equipment. Supposing that you only buy rice, oil, and all this, you put it down in your store, and you don't have the capital equipment in the kitchen to cook it, you're going to be going to the neighbors begging for a chance to put fire on the table. So how is the government operating? Everything is revenue expenditure. Just spend for today. Nothing for capital investment. This ministry comes in, that's where I started the discussion. Yeah. The Ministry of Health right now, we know, needs so much investment in capital equipment. These machines for the lab is just an example. We don't have it, and it's a shame for a country not to have it. But if you go to the hospital, you find out that basic things like MRI, scanning equipment, X-rays. I went into the X-ray room last year, and believe me, it's so discouraging that there is so much maternity, loss of maternity deaths. Most of this leads to lack of equipment, where they are supposed to be and the time they are supposed to be there. So we are expecting so much investment in medical equipment in the Ministry of Health, and we don't see it in the budget. So this is very sad.
Now let's talk about the role of the National Assembly in all of this, because the government, the executive can estimate whatever they want. Yeah. But if the legislature say it is not going to be approved, it is not passing, it is not going to happen. But looking at the debates at the National Assembly, what do you think?
Yeah, I see a lot of MPs are quiet, about the key issues. Well, we have had some of them, yes, making noises, but majority, we know how its legislation is passed.
As a matter of fact, just before we started, I think I saw somewhere about a NAM, I think from Sandu, saying that the 2023 budget estimate shows how the government is committed to development, something of that sort.
Yes, it reminds me of a farmer in Nyamina who told me, well, we don't want the lizard MPs. I said, what's a lizard MP? He said, just the MP that notes. Lizard notes ahead. The MP that notes ahead throughout the 5 years. We don't want that. So I think we are having that problem in the country. The National Assembly is supposed to be an oversight, over government excesses especially. And that's why they have so many committees, so that they can investigate issues and bring them to the table and take the government to account and let the population see that justice is not only being done, but it is seen to be done. So in that case, we are expecting so much scrutiny about this budget, so many questions to be asked. Somebody tell me, all the projects we are having on, the finance minister bring this budget to the table. Each project has something somewhere in the budget where you can point to, and it will point to a project. Where is the accountability to show that, where are these, tell us, Minister of Finance, Where are all these projects that are going on? What are the conditions, the time limits, the deadlines, etc.? How far have they gone, and how much money have you disbursed? Just compare that simple, because we know when the Banjul floods happen, we heard that sometimes people make disbursements even if the project is not complete. So this is just an example. There are billions in the OIC project, and we need to know whether. So the National Assembly, we're expecting them to put this to test. But that's why I said, is this excess allowance and salaries for the National Assembly, is it a way of trying to silence them? Or
yeah, I mean, it's a very legit question to ask, because you tend to wonder if that is an attempt, to make them a rubber stamp parliament.
Yes, that's the big question, because people are asking if they are paid this money and they are quiet about all the major issues, about constitutional reforms, about the corruption bill, about the projects that are being going on, about the government borrowing, about the increase in government expenditures, wantonly, embassies, advisors there, salaries everywhere, no investment, capital investment in agriculture, not in the health sector, not even in the schools. The Minister of Education just mentioned last time, I heard it from your show, that, or one of your programs, that they need 2 billion or thereabout to stop the afternoon shift in this country. And that's a capital investment. They need to build schools and classrooms to eliminate afternoon shift, which we know is bringing down the quality of education in this country. That's an investment for the future. All these are capital investment issues: health, education, agriculture, and they are not talking about it. So the MPs should be making noise about this thing. And at the end of the day, we want to see, like I said, whether they will pass the bill and on what conditions, because they can actually ask the minister to go back and remove what they don't like and come back. But whether they will accept it as the way the minister presented, and if they accept it and they are paid these allowances, what will they deliver to us at the end of the 5 years? Will they bring us a new constitution? The people have been consulted by the CRC. Are they going to come back to us and say, what you people wanted, Gambian people, we have delivered, so we have earned our money? Or they will just collect all these allowances and go home and sleep?
Finally, just before I let you go, oftentimes I notice that when issues of national development are being discussed, people do not even tend to pay attention. It's only a certain segment of society who tries to pay attention. Meanwhile, we have others. You can do a show here about the economy and nobody will watch. Some woman will sit there on Facebook Live and everybody runs there because it has something to do with gossip. But what is the role of the Gambian people in making sure that we hold the people that we put into these places accountable?
In fact, we have even more responsibility than the National Assembly. I see people sitting on Facebook and say, oh, the opposition is doing nothing. I say, well, what do you want us to do? You want us to take cutlasses and axes and go and cut the budget? We can't do that. Oh, you see some people and say, oh, Gambia dal, moi lolo. No, every citizen has a responsibility, because your MP is the first point of call. You see it in America. We have to write letters to our national assemblies. We have to be putting our MPs to task. We have to, every one of us in our areas, we have to ask our MPs, what have you been doing? Right? We have an MP in Yamina who is an NPP, and we haven't even heard him speaking. I was just speaking to Omar. We never heard his voice all along. And people are asking, and I am also asking. So everybody need to ask your MP, what are you doing? That's one. Two, the president and his cabinet take overall responsibility, because they have a different mandate from the people. He has also been voted. We cannot stop asking him questions about what is happening. And then three, of course, the voting. People vote, and your vote, we say, is your voice. You hear so many slogans before elections in this country, and people still make decisions. But then, well, you have to know that elections have consequences. It's a famous quote, right? If you do vote for the wrong people, well, I think it will come back to our dinner tables.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kurang, for granting us this interview.
Thank you.
This now brings us to the end of this exclusive interview with Economist Alhaji Mamadi Kurang, breaking down the 2023 budget estimate. Do join us on Wednesday if you can. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.